So hi, welcome to Make or Repair, where today I'm going to take a look at this kitchen waste bin. This is supposed to have a touch-free sensor on the front that opens the lid automatically, but apparently it's stopped working. The homeowner says they've changed the batteries and unfortunately they haven't supplied the batteries with it. So what I'm going to do is talk and show how I go about a repair like this, and in fact often you can do this with very few tools indeed. So the first step I like to do is to just think about what I'm doing a little bit. So the first thing that we've got, of course, are some batteries. And there are 4 of them, so it's about 6 volts, thereabouts. And this is then going through a switch, which is on the back. A little normal locker switch, so that's quite good. And then that will be going into a controller circuit. Also connected to that, there'll be some sort of sensor. And on the other side, some sort of receiver. So one will be emitting infrared light, the other will be receiving infrared light. When there's a reflection between these two caused by the hand or a white bag or something like that, then the bin should open. So the next stage on here is that this controller will have some sort of driver, and that will be running perhaps a motor or maybe a solenoid or something like that to actually actuate the bin mechanism. And there'll be a bit of clockwork stuff going on there to turn that into the motion for the thing. So it will sense a reflection. The control board will run the driver to open the bin. After a while, it'll rerun the driver in reverse to close the bin. There may be some other sensors connected as well, just to detect when the lid's open and closed, but probably not. So if I think about this, then really I want to do what I always do, which is to start off with the power, because if there's no power, nothing's going to work. And also you can't find the fault. So we'll start with the power, we'll go through the switch, etc, etc. So often I will just connect up a quick meter, and I'm going to use a fairly cheap one because I don't want to imply that you need loads of expensive test gear. I'll put that into ohms, open the battery compartment. These two are joined together. So what's happening is we've got a battery starting here, the negative, 1 battery, 2 batteries, it goes through here, 3 batteries, 4 batteries, all in series. So this pin here and this pin here. I'm seeing nothing there, so let's turn it on. And I've got 6.8K, and that's a perfectly reasonable reading. Doesn't really matter what it is, as long as it's a few K. What we want to be sure of is that it's not a short circuit when we put our batteries in. That's all I'm doing here. So we turn on, we go straight to a red light, so okay. Move my hand across, there's a green light, but I'm hearing nothing. There's no sound, there's no attempt to lift this lid. As I kind of do this, I can kind of feel it pressing against the motor. And we've probably diagnosed, I think, that our batteries are okay, the battery connection isn't short-circuited, the switch works, the control panel seems to mainly work, some indicator lights that it's got are certainly working. So we've got power through the device. So now I'm going to start thinking about the other end and working back and seeing whether the sensors are turning the motor on. Is the motor just disconnected for some reason? Or what's going on? Are there sensors like microswitches that are simply not working? Who knows? Let's see if we can get into it. There's quite a lot of Phillips screws in here, which in some ways is good news for me because it makes it so much easier than plastic clips and goodness knows what else that they often use. Self-tapping screws straight into the plastic. There's no metal inserts or anything. We all know what I think about that. But here we go. So on the positive side, that was really easy to get into. So let's just take a quick look. So we've got our battery section back here. Here's our 2 wires, positive and negative, coming through to the switch, which kind of looks sort of okay apart from poor quality soldering. And then we've got this small ribbon cable. Yep, so some of it's just the power coming from the battery down to this way, and the other is the control signal coming back this way to the motor. There is no sensor, there's nothing. There's a little gearbox on the end of the motor. So the first thing I think I'm going to look at is just this motor, just to see whether or not it's got any continuity. So we'll get our cheaper meter out again. So just to make life easier, I'm going to disconnect it from this end. Yeah, look, that motor is completely open circuit. This is about to reach the point of, no, it's not going to get fixed, I think, unless I just happen to have a motor. So if we look at that, we can see that that motor has clearly had some sort of liquid ingress. This isn't nice, really, is it? So the motor obviously screws through from this side, so I'm going to have to take this end off as well. So I'm not really sure how water's got in this. It shouldn't get in from this direction. Oh my goodness, how am I going to get this motor out? So I can kind of see down here that there's a screw in the bottom, but where the other screw is, it's probably right underneath these cogs. All right, let's try and lift them off and remember where they go. So I'm just trying to put these aside in the order that I work on. All right, so here's my motor. And this one is the negative with the X's along it. So this one's got a lot of X's along it, and this one's got a lot of red dashes on it, so positive and negative, one assumes. Okay, so I'm doing a slightly awkward bit of positioning here. Turn on. There's -2. Okay, let's wave my hand. Yes, it's only about 3 volts or so. Unfortunately, I would love to just read it off the motor, but as you can see, that's not going to happen. Look at my spare motors box to see if we've got anything in it. Ooh, like that one. Okay, so I've found this one. I have no idea about its voltage or anything, but it's the only one I've got that stands a hope in hell, to be honest. I think its spindle's a little bit short, probably only a couple of millimeters. I think it will actually fit. All I've got to do now is work out how this thing goes back together. Yeah, the motor's spinning freely. A bit of annoying corrosion in here. Let's get my shafts inserted. Okay, so I'm just inserting my shafts. I'm just going to put a little bit of grease on them. So I really would prefer them not to rust. Whether they originally had grease or not, I'm not sure, but I'm going for it. So those are all my spindles. I'll clean them, I've greased them a little bit. Now this one's going to go down here, I think, if I remember all this correctly. Okay, I'm just having a bit of problems getting things to latch into place. So, short one on here, long one here. This one goes in next. That's it, yeah, now it's in place properly. And then this one fits in. Yeah, that's right. I've got it now. Fingers crossed. Yes, perfect. And yeah, I do keep a lot of screws, just in case. So, okay, let's get a few cleaner screws into here if I can. I like to tear things down, take off anything useful, and often that will include screws, because you can just never get the one you want. Oh yeah, that works beautifully. I can feel that turning, excellent, and turning back. Superb. So since I can't get in there afterwards before I do anything else, I'm just going to wipe in there with some alcohol. Shall I solder it first? Yes. So I've popped a couple of bits of heat shrink sleeving on these wires to begin with. So I'm just soldering these because I don't have any sort of book connections or anything like that, or terminal blocks that really will handle these tiny small wires. But I'm popping a bit of heat shrink over it just to insulate it. So that's good. I'm happy with that. Let's get this installed and go from there. As we can see, we're almost there. I imagine it's supposed to go to there, then it will hold. So I think the way this works is that the spring in the gearbox works as a counterbalance to the weight of the lid. So in the closed position, the spring is wound tight and the lid sits lightly. The motor can move it easily. As the lid approaches vertical, the tension is released, the lid slows, and as it tips beyond vertical, the motor's work is done. The motor stalls and the controller detects it and turns it off. Then it waits for a given time. The motor starts in the opposite direction and only has to get the lid past vertical before gravity helps it rewind that spring. So to help our motor, we need to ensure the spring is properly tensioned. But how are we going to do it? Okay, so I've realised it might be a good idea to pre-tension this spring that's in there. So it's turning that way as far as it can, but it just can't make it with the spring. If I turn it back this way as far as I can, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually open this up. I'm going to turn this as far as I can in the direction that it shouldn't be, that it's in its closed direction. Pop it in. Just start popping the screws in. Very awkward, but okay, so fingers crossed. Whoa, look at that. Fully open. Go on, close. Thank you. Yes. Okay, so this, whoa. It does stop, of course, if I put my hands in the way. And I'll wipe out this side and reassemble it, and we'll just see if that will work well enough. If not, then I'll have to order a bigger motor. I could only find a motor from China, and while cheap enough, it will take quite a while to get here. So we'll stick with the one I've done. So I've got it back together, cleaned, I've turned it on. It's ready to go. Let's give it a quick test. Absolutely perfect. And we can see how this works. When it goes up and the motor stalls, the overcurrent is sensed by the microcontroller in here, and it stops turning it anymore. But fortunately, the lid seems to be reasonably well balanced now, because if I put my hand here, open it there, it stops at that point. And I don't think the motor's energized anymore. I think that's literally just the spring holding it, tensions and things like that are in here. So very simple mechanism, very effective in many ways, but unfortunately it really needed more attention to waterproofing that electronics compartment. So I'll warn the owner about that, because obviously water had ingressed and done a bit of damage. You know, if she knows to avoid it, she can give this a wipe out, keep it the right way up so that water doesn't run down into it. Nothing more than a cheap multimeter. I mean, I think this one's tenner or something. And that was all that was needed to find that the motor was broken. You know, we could have done it without. We could have connected up batteries to the motor and things like that and tried to run it. And we could probably just have got away without the multimeter. But obviously it makes life a lot easier. Anyway, if you enjoyed that, don't forget to subscribe, like the video, of course, comment, share it with your friends, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.